Last week, Graham spoke on raising wise kids. A little tongue-in-cheek, I announced the topic for this morning's message as wisdom and wrinkles. I actually have had a lot of fun with that title. My preaching professor used to say that a title was good if it would get somebody to get off the Fifth Avenue bus and come into your church. Well, when I told people the title, everybody was excited. They were smiling, they were asking questions, and they told me that they were going to come and hear the message. So I thought it was a good title. The only problem is that the title was misleading. Because first of all, our text, which comes from Proverbs 20:29, says nothing about wrinkles. Instead, it talks about a different physical feature associated with aging. It says, the beauty of the aged is their gray hair. The second reason my original title, Wisdom and Wrinkles, was misleading is because the proverb also says the glory of youth is their strength. The whole proverb reads, the glory of youth is their strength, the beauty of the aged is their gray hair. The proverb commends both young and old for a very specific physical attribute, gray hair and strength. But I think we got to wait a minute and ask an important question. Is the Bible really saying that gray hair is beautiful? Well, that's possible, but most women, when their hair gets gray, they run to the beauty parlor and get it covered up. Men are doing the same thing. They too are covering their gray hair these days. So I'm not sure that we really appreciate gray hair as a physical attribute. As a symbol, however, gray is packed with beautiful meaning. Gray is the color of complexity, of all that falls between the absolutes. It's the color of intellect, knowledge, and wisdom. It is a classic, refined, dignified, conservative color, the perfect neutral, if you will, that lives between the extremes of black and white. So let's stop covering the gray. Let's celebrate it. I know some in this congregation who during the pandemic have done just that. They now are coming back to church with beautiful gray and white hair. The rest of us are not so brave. But actually, in saying the beauty of the aged is their gray hair, Proverbs is not making a fashion statement, but holding up the value of reflective wisdom. Wisdom, like a good wine, matures over time. Gray hair, as such, is understood as a sign of wisdom, of someone's having lived a life worth living, a life full of experience that they have reflected upon. Great. So if the phrase, the beauty of gray hair, is to be understood as reflective wisdom, what about the phrase, the glory of youth is their strength? Is that symbolic too? Well, maybe. But physical strength of youth is in itself, I believe, an attribute. Let me explain how it is that I have come to that conclusion. We have, and I'm lifting it up because it's empty, these 5-gallon bottles of water in our home. And when my 6'2" young son Franklin lived with us, he would just pick these up, turn them over, and put them on the water dispenser. It was like nothing for him to do. But then he moved out. And the problem was, neither Marie nor I could move these bottles, and together we got more water on the floor than we did in the dispenser. And so what did we do? Well, we used a little wisdom, and we came up with 3-gallon bottles, which we can handle. That's not the only illustration I have of the value of the strength of youth. One day in our backyard, my sister Georgia's husband, Jack, who was sick at the time, he fell in our backyard. And because he was sick, he couldn't get himself back up on his feet. So I went and got Charlie, his oldest son. Charlie came out, he looked at his dad, he leaned down, he picked him up single-handedly, held him in his arms like you would a baby, and walked him into the house. I absolutely marveled at Charlie's strength. But as wonderful as the physical strength of youth is, the strength of youth is more than physical. Robert Kennedy Jr., a man who died too young, talked and wrote of the attributes of youth eloquently when he said, "This world demands the qualities of youth, not a time of life, but a state of mind, a temper of the will, a quality of the imagination, a predominance of courage over timidity, of the appetite for adventure over the life of ease."